Feeding our livestock is one of the most expensive enterprises that a farmer can face when trying to incur the total cost of production in piggery farming and in other types of livestock rearing. Ukufuya izifuyo zethu kusithathela imali eningi nxa sikhangele indaba leyi eyokupha izifuyo zethu ukudla. Pakuchengeta zvifuyo zvedu nekudzipa chikafu, pane mari yakawanda inotarisirwa nevarimi nevanenge vachichengetedza zvifuyo zvavo kuti vakwanise kutenga chikafu chakakwana kuti zvifuyo izvi zvikure zvakanaka. Pachikamu ichi tinotarisa tichiona kuti vamwe varimi vakuita zvekugadzira chikafu chavo vega kuti vakwanise kufuya zvifuyo zvavo vachizowana mari yavo yakakwana at the end of the day. Welcome to another exciting episode of Agric Connect. I am your host, Annette Mtetwa. We are here today at Balivon Farm, where we are going to be joined by a farmer who's going to teach us more about how to incur costs and also remain productive within the piggery rearing sector. He has taken it into his own hands to actually come up with ways in which he can make his own livestock mix and actually keep his costs very minimal within the piggery farming and rearing sector. Siyalamukela kwesinye isihlelo esisithandayo ese-Agric Connect lapha sikhona eGoromonzi esizabona lokutshelwa ukuthi izifuyo ezengulube singazigcina njani lokuzilungisela ukudla okwaneleyo sisiba lama-costs amalutshwane njengabalimi lapha hlelo lesi ese-piggery farming. Tauya nasi pano tiri paBalivon Farm patichasangana nemurimi achatiudza kuti zvino iye akazvigona sei zvekugadzira chikafu chenguruve dzake chinoita kuti akwanise iye kuramba ari mupiggery sector achiwana macosts ake ari mashoma achichengetedza zvifuyo zvake nenzira dziri nutritious dzinomupa mari yakakwana at the end of the day. Now, while some farmers may turn to innovative ways of coming up with balanced mixing ratios for their livestock feed, it poses a risk of just how nutritious this feed mix can be. Tinotarisira kuti sevarimi tinokwanisa kugadzira chikafu chatinopa zvifuyo zvedu tega, asi pane nyaya yekuti tinozozvigona here kugadzira chikafu chicharamba chichipa zvifuyo zvedu utano hwakakwana. Njengabalimi, nxa sesikhangelela ukuthi sesilungisa ukudla kwethu sodwa esiza kunika izifuyo zethu okuzazinika ubudlelwano obuhle, sikhangelela ukuthi sibekwazi ukuthi singalungisa njani ukudla lokhu ngendlela ezaneleyo. This brings us back to how we've come here to see how a farmer can do it himself, how he's come up with the correct mixing ingredients, how he's come up with the correct mixing ratios, and how he has put it in his own hands to actually come up with the appropriate feed mix that gives nutritious value to his livestock. Sesilapha sesisakhangelela ukuthi sizafunda namhla kumuntu lo farmer osekwazi ukuthi engahlanganisa njani esebenzisa ukudla okunjani ukuthi abe lobudlelwane obuhle abunikayo izifuyo zakhe nxa selungisa yedwa i-livestock feed mix yakhe. Takutarisira kuti nasi tichadzidza sevarimi kune murimi akazvitora akazvisa maoko ake ega kuti akwanise kugadzira achishandisa ma-ingredients akakwana, achishandisa ma-ingredients ari correct kuti agadzire feed mix yake inopa zvifuyo zvake utano hwakanaka nekukura kwakanaka. With all that being said today, we're going to be joined by our expert farmer today, Daniel Rungani, here at Balivon Farm, who's going to tell us the depth of piggery farming and how he has taken it upon his hands to actually start mixing his own ratios, which ingredients he has used, and how he has successfully managed to come up with the correct mixing ratios to create a livestock feed that is sustainable for his farm enterprise, as well as good and nutritious for his pigs and other livestock within the farm. Sikhangelela ukuthi libe lathi usilethu sethu esilandelayo lapha eAgric Connect lapha esizaba bona ufama wethu esichasisela ukuthi yena ukwenze njani ukuthi akwanise ukuba lokudla okwaneleyo okwanelayo izifuyo zakhe njalo ukuthi ukwenza njani ukuthi abe lokudla okwaneleyo izifuyo zakhe lapha eAgric Connect. Hello and welcome to the second segment of Agric Connect today, where we are continuing with our journey on piggery farming. On this segment, we're joined by our farmer, Daniel Rungani, who is going to take us into the depths of our piggery farming and how he has managed to innovate livestock feed mixing and come up with appropriate ratios to feed his livestock. Namhla silapha eBalivon Farm, lapha esizahlangana lo Daniel Rungani, ufama wethu osehlanganisa ukudla okuchiyeneyo ukuthi akwanise ukufuya izifuyo zakhe ngendlela ezichiphileyo, ngendlela ezibona ukuthi yena uzahlala eku-enterprise leyi kwesikhathi eside. Nasi tiri pano pa Balivon Farm, paticha sangana na fama wedu Daniel Rungani, achati udza iye kuti arikusanganisa sei livestock feed mix yake kuti akwanise kuraramisa nekupa zvifuyo zvake chikafu chakakwana. Asi achigara ari mu-enterprise iyi nenzira dzinoita kuti enterprise yake iramba iri sustainable nekuti irambe iri productive. Join us as we are joined by our farmer in this segment. Hi Daniel.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Thanks.
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you so much for having us here on Agric Connect at your wonderful farm. We're so excited to see what you're doing. Tine tarisiro yokudzidza kwamuri nasi tionewo kuti tinokwanisa here kupa ruzivo rwakawanda kune mafama zedu ari kunzoko ari kuedzawo kupinda mu piggery farming nekuona zvamuri kuita pano pa Balivon Farm.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
All right, let's see what you guys have going.
Sure.
Okay. So Daniel, tell us, what motivated you to get into the art of mixing your own feed mix and coming up with your own ratios? Why did you stop depending on commercial options? Chi chakaita kuti muchitange kusanganisa mega imimi chikafu chenyu muchiona kuti chinokwanirana nenguruve dzenyu nenzira dzinodzipa nutrition yakakwana?
So one of our biggest challenges as farmers, there are a lot of things that we cannot control. Farming has to do with the weather. There are a lot of variations in it. But when it comes to with pig farming now, you can control the cost. You can't necessarily control the price in the market because it's a normal good. If your pig is from Masvingo or from Boera or wherever, if a pig is $3 per kg, then it's $3 per kg. So we then thought that we should mix our own feed now for us to control the cost. So if by mixing your own feed, you save close to 50% other than using straight feed. Because here a 50 kg bag of feed, we make it at around $15 to $18. Then you buy one in the local shops for around $26 to $30. So before anything, you have already saved a lot. So yeah, that's what motivated us. It was firstly because that's the one thing we can really control, which is cost. Then you can't really control the yield because there's mortality, there's things that might just come up, you don't know about it. But if you control your cost, everything else you can handle it.
So this is definitely a challenge that most farmers who are practicing or looking to get into piggery are facing already, the cost of the actual commercial feed mix on the market right now.
Yes, because feed constitutes about 70 to 80% of your total cost. So if you handle the feed part, 70% of your problem's already gone. So exactly. So yeah, that's a huge problem. And pigs eat like they are
constantly eating.
Constantly eating. Yes.
Wow,
yes.
That's amazing. So what is it that you're incorporating to actually give your pigs and finding it as nutritious as possible for your pigs to keep it, sustainable?
So here we do winner to finish. So we do the servicing, everything. Then sometimes we buy porkers from other people and fatten them here, but mainly it's farrow to finish. So what we do now, we have been mixing the whole of our feed, like from the creep to the boy and sow. But what we realize, there are some nutrients that we can't really mix on the farm since we are using shovels. In your creep feed, for example, fish meal, and all those things on the farm, you can't really supervise on it, and sometimes you're not going to some of the nutrients. So we realized if we buy the earlier companies, like if you buy creep from other companies, then we start mixing it grower feed, because there are some things that are in creep that you can mix. Then for your grower, you can either buy concentrate or deal with premix. And the companies in Zimbabwe, they have also realized that if we cannot supply these guys with this feed, which is a bit costly. So let's go back a bit. Let's go back and start supplying premix. So we have they produce lysine, and so it's all in there. So what you have to do now is to buy those premix, then get your soya meal. That's the protein. Then you can either buy your maize germ or the maize meal, then you crush it, or rotten maize meal, which isn't bad, but then almost bad. You get your maize meal, or you can get actual maize and crush it into my crash. But then there's also a skill there. You also need to get arima. You have to crush it in a 3mm. I find it safe because, as you understand from a science class, powders dissolve quicker than granules. So if pigs are non-ruminants, so they need digestible feed. They need to eat something that they can easily convert into meat. So if they take a lot of time chewing, dissolve and everything, energy is being lost. So so that's when you definitely need to do that. You have to be there and monitor, because you don't have to be a software farmer. Some of the things you need to be there, and you have to tell your guys if you can train them on the job. If they know, then everyone will understand. Because if you don't train them, they just think so you should explain to them, guys, so that's how we have been going about it. So we have to have soya meal, that's the protein component, then maize meal, or the maize, that's the carbohydrate component, then the premix, those are your minerals and vitamins.
Takuda kuziva sevarimi kuti ratios acho tinozvifambisa sei sevarimi kuti tinyatsokuwana that balance yamuri kuwana imimi, kuti kwanise kuwana the end result yamuri kuwana imimi, muchiwana an end product that is actually sustainable on the market. Okay,
for example, today we have my concentrate. So this company, every time they produce now, to my pamphlets, which are guided, which tell you that what amount of maize do you need to put in. You need to put your maize, then you need to put your wheat bran, which is for roughage, then you need to put in your soya. So those things you have to look them up as you're doing it. Say, for example, with concentrate is 2 parts as to 3 parts. So it's 3 parts maize, then 2 parts concentrate. Here in your concentrate there is premix, and there's your soya, like the protein component, and there's also the wheat bran. So they have done it for you. With this concentrate, it's a bit easier, other than with the premix foliar. Of course, with the premix, you need to have the premix, the wheat bran, and you'll be using the exact ratios. And it's actually, like you said, it's scientific. So they need to give you the pamphlet. Whichever company you buy from, they need to give you their pamphlet how to mix their feed. And when you need to use agronomists, and those companies, they are there to serve you. So you have to tell them, guys, how do I go about it? And you they explain to me like I'm a 5-year-old or I'm a grade 5. Explain to me, how do I need to do this? If I get to the farm, what do I need to do? And they'll be happy to assist. So you definitely need to use those resources at our disposal.
That is very insightful information. I think every farmer out there can hear for themselves what it constitutes to actually get it right and get a final product that gives you value for your money. I think now we'd like to know, Daniel Kuti, since it's almost scientific, is there particular equipment that a farmer needs to come into this enterprise with? Ndafungawo kuti ndakuchisanganisa ndega Feedmix yangu, ndikugadzira yangu ndega Feedmix. Pane equipment yakakosha ere kuti nditange nayo, ndisanganise nayo inondipawo that appropriate balance yamuri kuwana panapa?
For a start, you don't have to go for your Feedmix, because like we said, the cost. If you buy equipment that's heavy, like if you buy a feed mixer, it goes for around 2,000. That's money you could have used to buy extra stock, refurbish your housing and everything. So you need to use the basics. For a basic shovel, but later on we have in our plans that we need to have a whole plant to do that, even to start selling to other farmers, because it's something you now feel like this knowledge has to be imparted somewhere else, and I have to get some return on investment of all the things that I know. So it can't be just for this farm. I'll be selfish if I just make my own feed for my pigs. It also has to be something that it's an added revenue stream into the business, that we also make feed and sell it. So for a start, if you are between 5 soy units to around 20, right now we're at 23 here, we are still using the shovel, and we're mixing around 500 kgs per week. So you can use your basic shovel. But then when you're around 40 to around 50 to 100 soy units, it now makes sense to buy feed equipment, because for your basic serving for a week, you'll be pushing around 5 tons per week. And 5 tons, how many guys would you need to shovel? But then if you are like for 20 soy units and below, use the basic shovel. It'll be good for you. Then when you start to have money coming in to do other things, research and development, you start saying, no, let's put this money towards getting this, then you can definitely. But basically what you need right now are maybe 2 buckets like we have here, and shovels, and the manpower and the muscle. then yeah, we'll be good.
So it's important to start small,
Exactly.
keep within your means, and when you scale up, look into,
start
growing bigger.
Yeah, start with what you have.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is basically what most farmers would like to hear. I think it's not something that's costly. And I see you also have a scale somewhere in the background, yes, meaning there's some sort of weighing that happens to make sure kuti mixing yacho ma ratios ari appropriate azvisizve kufungidzira. It's interesting to know just how much it is that your livestock or your pigs, according to how many you have, are taking up of this livestock feed maybe per week.
At the moment, we have about 80 growers. So those 80 growers, they are around their 12th week. So they are between 2.5 to 3 kg. So per week, roughly for our growers, they're consuming about 800 to a ton per week. Then for our crib, for the piglets, we have about 15, which is we buy 25 kgs from Fivet, so that's around 25 kgs per week. Then for the bulls and sows, which the parent stock, they are consuming around 250 per week, 250 kgs per week. Yes.
Okay, that sounds pretty precise. I think, Daniel, we've gotten such an insightful mixture of information from you today on livestock mixing. Do you have any takeaways for our farmers or upcoming farmers, even our seasoned farmers?
One of the things that I notice even in groups, people are being told that you should grow your own maize. And sometimes maize can be, like I said, with many variables. I think you should lose the absolute advantage. Let someone who can produce maize at scale. Lions Den. They are growing, for them to grow a hectare, maybe $800. Kunoku with the cents we have and or not, maybe use 1.2. So it's better for you to buy from other people than growing your own maize. If you want to focus on piggery, sometimes when you're between 5 to 20 sow unit, some business because you have to understand it's called a piggy bank for a reason. Pigs, they need to bank your money, and it's a huge multiplier. So if you want to focus on pigs and you want to make money with piggery, focus on that. Then you can go back and wash and start mixing your own feed, yes. But then the growing part, sometimes leave that maize to someone who's doing the maize. Please. Say no much bag when so chirima, then it's to tenga kwa because wananga wa to effort to tenga kwa to mix. The other thing is to have a scale. Because when challenge to it and they good mna two masaga ke concentrate go with 3 each bag, and of which kanataga each bag change to dzika 40 per weight. So you definitely need a scale of what way out saka bag chaita so you dagata so of what so then you also need to check the consumption of your pigs. You can even take if you are mixing the absolute measure, like if you are mixing like the premix, you can even take to Fivet as this offer that they do. They have technical guys who test your feed to know but you can also do it on your farm. You should check the stew, the dump yema pigs. What kind of stew are they doing? Are they putting out the maize chibage chakadaro or patina yacho paninge pari irunya sobuda ichi yakaenda yakadaro that my nutrients are absorbed. So sometimes you are really wasting your feed. Pangosvika nguru dzacho dzokona appetite pamwe ukona chikafu chacho chikona pachakawanda unozopeza I'm feeding to guarantee that. Those are some of the things that you need to really pay attention to. Are the pigs eating? Do they have an appetite for the because zoto dzine rimio zoda kunzota mana chikafu ichi chikunaka choda kuti chidzidyo chinaka. So ukada kuti ukatora chibage chine molds kana zvinhu zvakawanda zoti dzinongochema nzara but adzoti zvauri kuti pa chamwari azviite. So you need to take care of your animals and you need to love them.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for joining us today. I learned a lot myself, and I'm sure our farmers got a lot from your explanations on feed mix ratios. It's so nice to see award-winning young farmers like yourself coming up with such innovations. It's doable, and it's something that can actually sustain you and your livelihoods. Thank you very much for joining us on this segment of piggery, livestock feed mixing and ratios with Mr. Daniel Rungani today. We're very happy to have been here at his enterprise, and we're so happy to have learned this much from him. Tadzidza zvakawanda sevarimi ndinovimba tichatora mashoko avo totaurawo nevanoziva nezvazvo tione kuti tingasanganise sei mafeed mix edu tichipa utano hwakakwana kune zvifuyo zvedu. Siyalibonga ukuba lathi namhla lapha ku Agric Connect lapha akade sikhuluma ngokuhlanganisa ukudla kwengulube lezinye izifuyo ezichiyeneyo. Sithemba liza kuba lathi kwesinye isihlelo esilandelayo lapha ku Agric Connect. Join us on our next segment here on Agric Connect as we are joined by an expert who's going to tell us more in depth on livestock feed mix ratios and how best we can sustain our livestock at sustainable and profitable values. Thank you. My name is Annette Mutetwa, your host, and thank you for joining us today on Agric Connect. Hello and welcome to another segment of Agric Connect. My name is Annette Mutetwa, your host, and today we are joined by Teacher Farah Mugari yet again, who is going to tell us a little bit more on feed mix production and how farmers are actually venturing into making their own feed mix, with feed mix actually consuming or taking up over 50 to 60% of production costs on the farmer setup. It is weighing on farmers to keep on buying feed mix production. Hence, farmers have resorted to actually making or coming up with formulations for their own feed mix production. Hi, Teacher Farah. Thank you very much for joining us yet again here on Agric Connect. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and it's good to be back again.
Thank you very much. So, Teacher Farah, we've got a crisis at hand in terms of the market for feed mix and the different formulations that we have on the market. They are weighing a lot on the farmer's pocket and seeing that most farmers have resorted to actually formulating their own feed mix and coming up with formulations that can sustain the nutrition of their livestock. What is your view on this? Is it profitable and is it wise for farmers to actually resort to creating their own feed mix formulations?
In terms of feed formulation, there are two ways. There's feed formulation and there's buying straight feed. So I can say a farmer can achangotanga, and without experience, it's good to go for straight feed. When I say straight feed, I mean you can go to any shop that sells feed yakagadzira udara. So a farmer achitanga, it's good to go on utenga straight feed. But then with experience, kana any experience your feed formulation and pinda in feed formulation, and also you need to work with a nutritionist. You need to consult them. So yes, you can go for feed formulation. You can also go for straight feed. But if you don't have experience in feed formulation, don't formulate feed because it will cost you, affect the growth, your livestock, and also a healthy fertility. You compromise a lot of things, and there's no pieces of waste. So without experience, let's go for straight feed. With experience, let's move with feed formulation.
In that regard, for farmers who have actually ventured into creating their own livestock feed, I understand there are different types of machinery. Say I'm experienced and I actually know what I'm doing. What is the type of machinery that is required for a farmer to at least have quite precise formulations?
Feed formulation even pasna my equipment akakwana. Like tinogona kutoti usually vanomixa feed vanoda kumixa mama 1 ton. So isusu zvatinogona kuita kana tisina mari zvinhu zvakakwana tinogona kushandisa even mashavels kumixa feed yedu kuti unogona kuti for instance let me start with 200 kgs then uma divide into 4 then wotomixa even mashavels nemabuckets then wapedza wotoisa mumabags ako wotosila. So that's the first thing. So we are not saying kuti we are limited in my equipments. Then the other thing is kana vanema resources chigayo chakakosha.
Yes.
Because unema raw materials akaita tomboti it's a hay kuti yakakurisa unoda kuigrinder, so you need a hammer mill, you need chigayo, then also you need a mixer. So then kuzo mixer mama raw materials ako, then vamo futhi they go on kuzoita ma pellet mills kuzoda kuzochita chive chama pellet I think you've seen that.
Yes.
So ma pellet mills unodiwa, hammer mill unoida, ma mixer unoida. So I can say that with that you are good to feed. And also maybe storage, you can only storage, you can mix as much as you can. But in terms of mixing, what I recommend for my farmers is it depends with the capacity awinayo. Usa mixe tomboti chikafu che 6 months. Usa mixe chikafu che 1 year, because accountability inozonesa. Chikafu changa chifana wita 6 months, unaona kunza after 2 months kuti chikafu chapera. So for accountability, try by all means kuti nogona mix. I advise kuti 3 weeks is okay, depends on the capacity. But don't mix chikafu chenguwa yakareba, because you never know zinozoitika. Then maybe I can touch in terms of storage. Kuti you need to avoid maybe my areas kuti pani pachipinda mvura kustore feed yako, maybe nisumuzi zvakata samakonzo etc. zokuti you need also kuti feed yako inge iri pakanaka, maybe in a shade panopindawo mhepo.
What is the most key thing in terms of the nutrition of these animals that a farmer should consider in constituencies of the feed mix before they begin?
Okay, so when you are formulating feed, zvakakosha kuziva nutritional component, nutritional value yechikafu chako. Kana chiri chibage unofana kuziva energy component yayo kuti chine energy yakawanda sei. Even pachibage unofana kuziva protein content pachibage. Even ku sunflower cake, soybean cake unofana kuziva protein content kuti yakawanda zvakadii. So in terms of formulating, obviously you need to do lab test to get the nutritional component. So you need to send your samples. So you can formulate the feed, then send it to the lab. Then also another thing is kana wagadzira feed yako. I advise kuti ma farmers ari kutanga aya kuti va formulate feed yawo. Vanogona kutanga not kusanganisa such kuti vanotiwo vanofeeda straight feed, then feed yavagadzira inoya as a supplement. So unogona tomboti unoda kufeeda 14 kg, maybe it's pen fattening yemombe, unoda kufeeda 14 to 16 kgs, unogona kutanga maybe ne straight feed, maybe uchitanga nema kgs maybe to 10, then yako yawagadzira yoya as a supplement. But then kuti uziye kuti yako ichashanda, uchabatsirwa ne lab test, then uchabatsirwa the performance of the animal ku feed yako inokuudza. So animal yako ika responda to the feed, it means your feed is working.
What is your key takeaway to farmers who are pre-formulating or formulating their own feed? As we go away today, what would you advise a farmer in a very short and brief advice?
I can say they can go ahead and formulate their own feed, but they must work with a nutritionist. Because pakugadzirwa kwe feed ndinogona kukupa formula nasi panapo pa formula, but formula inochinja.
Yes.
Because chibage chogona kushaiko, you need kuti kana chibage chashaiko tichaisa chi, kana sunflower cake isisiko tofana kuisa chi. So you need also to work nema nutritionist as a norm. Let's add this. So I advise my farmers could go for it, and also work with a nutritionist, and they will help you in terms of formulating your feed.
Thank you very much for your insight on pre-formulation. There you have it, farmers. Feed mix formulation is something that can prove to be quite difficult if you do not know what you're doing. We keep going back to the issue of actually consulting and working with the experts within the industry, which is what our experts keep telling us. It is very good to consult and get good advisory before you actually get into the production or pre-formulation of your own feed mix. This is Agric Connect, and my name is Annette Mtetwa as your host. I look forward to seeing you again next time.